Well, so let's get interactive. We do encourage you, always make sure that when you're sending us a message right here on TV3Newday, you add the hashtag TV3Ghana or TV3GH, TV3Newday, and we'll get all the interactions going. We do know that, well, there was this fiat or directive that SIM cards overnight will be blocked. And the Ministry of Communication, led by the minister, had directly given that notice. So as of now, we're well within our right to say that those 9 million SIM cards have been blocked. So we'll be discussing that right here on the Big Issue segment of TV3Newday. But foremostly, we know what the outcome of the Supreme Court ruling is regarding actions and inactions that were taken to remove the former Auditor General while he was in office, and Daniel Domelevo has been responding. So we will start the discussions segment with that. I have to say good morning to you, Jemima Aye. You work with UBA West Africa, a great lady, and I wish you the best for the day. Colonel Festus Abwaje, also. We currently have some challenges, according to the comments I'm getting this morning, when it comes to the direct free-to-air transmission on your television set. So you can join us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TV3 Ghana. I'm sure it's because of the rain. It's been raining heavily right here in Accra or the other parts of Ibri where we have those transmission lines as it is. Let me just introduce my distinguished guests, sweet ladies here, big politicians, big positions they're holding in their political parties and in government. Hajia Loratu Saka is a regular right here on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Roland.
You look beautiful. I love your headgear, the way you've covered yourself quietly.
Yeah, my buddy.
Certainly. You give me a lot of feedback when we're having, and I've loved the way you've been watching us a lot, if you're not on set. Now, Nanaya Achimpim Jantwa is the General Secretary for the Convention People's Party. You know, it's Kwame Nkrumah's party, resurrected when we decided from PNDC to do the transition into the Fourth Republic. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Great colors as well. One of my choices always.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I have it also with Aisha.
And today the orange is going around.
And Aisha Al-Hassan, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Roland.
Yeah, representing the NDC. I remember the last time you were here, there was a fight.
Yeah.
Not on TV,
Not
though.
really. A fight? No, we didn't fight.
Okay.
Had...
If it was not a fight, please get interactive. As you get interactive, let's get those messages as well.
Should we get gloves?
Money, need money. Ras Kotuka, Imelda Nassar. We also do have William Beche, all of you joining us on Facebook. I want to say good morning to Dr. Sribo Kwaku, who is the Director of Elections. Tomorrow they're going to have IPAC, Inter-Party Advisory Committee will be meeting. And Nanea, you've been told about the agenda.
Yeah.
What is it about?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You will get to know.
Yeah, we get to know.
Okay,
yeah.
certainly. Has the NDC returned to IPAC?
No.
They haven't. They still haven't. Okay.
Maybe this one they will come.
They will come. All right, we'll see how it goes. And then, well, let me just start with you. What do you make of the decision briefly? Just briefly. The Dumelevo Supreme Court decision.
Roland, this issue has traveled, the notice was given to the Auditor General to proceed on his accumulated leave. And I mean, over the years in this country, I mean, apart from having a precedence at that same institution, I mean, we've had people go on leave, proceed on leave. We've had statements like order from above and all that. So these are things that have been running in our political circles, in our governance circles for a long while now. I mean, Mr. Domelevo felt strongly about the directive he had been given. And what do you do when you feel like what is being done to you is not the right thing to be done? You go to the court. That's the point of justice, if I may. And ruling came out yesterday. But even with that, the judgment itself is still not out. The judgment from what was said will come out before the 21st of June. So, but at the end of the day, for me, it's a ruling that has been given. And usually what do the courts do? They set precedents, they guide how laws are implemented and all that. So the Apex Court has taken a decision, said what was done was not good. And that wasn't the only thing. The other reliefs that Mr. Domelevo also sought that were not upheld. So it's a decision that has been made, a ruling has been made. I think we move forward from there.
Nania, it's the way the actions were taken, sneak peek actions like changing his locks while he was out of the country. He comes, it's those actions, letting the chair of the board undertake. Even the Supreme Court in that judgment did say, and our court correspondent did also confirm that we had Edward Duyajiman, even also sometimes being a witness in place of Yaosafo Mafo in this very case as well. Is that those subtle and then direct attempts to try to overtly just tumble or overturn and create or frustrate him in office? That raises concern about the actions that were taken by the presidency and its assigns. Is that not it?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. Good morning and good morning to your viewers. Good morning to my CPP comrades. Good morning to Ghanaians. And good morning to my sisters here. And good morning to my friend Abdul Latif Dan. You see, the point is that when this decision was taken, there was a lot of uproar. And Ghanaians were not happy with the decision. And there was some, the word is not coming, but there was some concoction of information about his date of birth. Some archival information was dug up and all that.
On his nationality.
On his nationality. So many murky things were done, as if there was an orchestrated and a deliberate attempt, no matter what, to get him out. And eventually, to cut a long story short, he was gotten out. And 9 CSOs decided to take the thing to court, the matter to court. And today, the Supreme Court is saying that the president did not act right. We haven't seen the judgments. For me, what would have been a story is if there is a level of compensation for him, for the public disgrace, for the inconvenience, and for whatever he went through. Because the Auditor General's office is supposed to be an independent office. But certainly then, the issue of, the irony of it is that it's the president who appoints and also takes him out. So how can he be independent when the president has a hand in it? And that is what we of the CPP have been saying, that the independent institutions like the EC, Auditor General, Shiraj, they should have a different way of appointment. They're going through the process of advertisements, public service, vetting by parliament and all that, so that the executive arm of government take their influence out of these independent bodies. Because as long as it's the president that appoints you, he certainly would have a hand. And if the people around the president are not comfortable with the way you do your thing, certainly they would try to influence the system to ensure that something is done to you. The ruling has come out. I'm happy, and we are happy that the Supreme Court has been able to come out to say that it was not done right. The president did not act well. It was an error on his part. So that is it. But the most important thing is that I listened to Dr. or Mr. Dumelevo yesterday, and he said that he existed in a very toxic environment. He existed in an environment where he couldn't even eat, drink, sit on his chair. And he said that it was a relief to him when it happened. It is unfortunate that any public servant who has been assigned by law to do his work, because of political interference, will feel that he's threatened to feel that he's working in a toxic environment to the extent that he cannot even drink or eat around his own environment. That is not something that is very acceptable. And I believe that using Mr. Domelevo as an example, the executive arm of government, even though they are the appointing authority, should try as much as possible to take their hand out of the public service, because it's becoming one too many. And that if for any reason you are not in cahoots with government, I mean, there is an orchestration to always get you out. Once the person is put into office to do a job, the person has to do a job. Because you see, it's not only Dumelevo. This new Auditor General also came up with findings. In his audit report, there were a lot of findings. Especially the special COVID. The special COVID thing. So it is not only Dumelevo who would dig and go into it to find out what is going on. It is the job of the Auditor General to put you on your toes. It is the job of the internal auditor to put you on your toes. And the Auditor General is like the internal auditor for government, for all institutions. We have the Internal Audit Agency. All these agencies are put in there to ensure that there is no corruption or there is minimal corruption. Do you get me? So, I mean, their job is very important. And as long as the government, you will not get any Auditor General who will always say that you are right. As long as we have a government that overspends, the government that, I mean, expenditure, they just spend without any plan, without any priority. You would find an Auditor General who will come out and say
especially with those findings
by
the Auditor General in the special
COVID, yes,
which even the President in his last address, I think that directly just decided to brazenly said that were not true.
But he always says that. I mean, when the State of the Nation, he said it's not true, that they themselves asked him to do the audit. And if you have asked somebody to do the audit and all these findings came out, then you say it is not true. So did the person lie? After you have assigned somebody to do a work for you and the person has done the assignment, then you come back and say it is not true. Does it mean that the person lied? And if the person lied, why did the reports come out? Why didn't you ask the person to go back and do another report and let's see what comes out of it, a second opinion? I think one of the institutions even did it before that, and the same results came out. I don't remember which one. One of them, I'm not too sure. And you see, if you have a government that is always overrunning their budget, always have a budget deficit, always spending more than they earn, that is what will come up. And the Auditor General would always speak the truth. You see, Roland, the point is that, you see, sometimes this government gets it wrong. I always say that when it comes to auditing, it's not every time that the money has been chopped. Even variation of a project, even using money for something else. If a money is meant for a tie and you use it for a shirt, it's still an audit issue. And these are all issues that the auditor will pick. As long as if he sees 20 cedis was budgeted for a rope, and that 20 cedis cannot be found anywhere, but maybe it has been used for tea, he will question.
And especially when they question you or make inquiries and you can't account
You can't account for. If inquiries are made and you cannot account for it. But as long as you do variations, you are used to doing variations. I mean, when money is given for a certain thing, you don't use it. And it came out largely in the auditor's report, I think 2022 audited account. It is there. You see, most of them are variations, like COVID levy. It was meant to be paid for the free electricity. It has not been paid for. That account, they don't know what the money has been used for. Do you get me? There was a question there that the money is still standing in the books of the utilities, the water and the electricity. Meanwhile, government is still charging COVID-19 levy. On when you go and buy something at the shop, it is there. COVID-19 levy is there. As part of the taxes that you pay. I was looking for my receipt to show it to you, but I can't. I will look for it.
You have a sample, so you
yes,
wanted to show
I wanted to show it.
I think we all experience it when we go.
Yes, it is there. But meanwhile, it was not accounted for because that money is specific. Whatever is accrued from COVID-19 levy is meant to pay for free water, free electricity. That is what was said. In the 2021 budget, it said that this is what the levy is going to be used for. Pay for that. But right now, it is still sitting in the books. It has not been paid for. This is certainly an audit matter. So the auditor will look through everything. It does not mean that the auditor is witch hunting you. It means that the auditor is putting you on your toes.
And doing his or her work.
Doing his or her work.
Based on the article that establishes
yes, it is unfortunate that Mr. Domelevo had to go through that humiliation because of his work. Because he is strict. Because he's doing his work. I mean, that one, it is unfortunate. Because he wants the right thing to be done as an auditor. As a chief auditor of the state. Because you see, this government should understand that the money that they are holding is not their own money. It is not their pocket money. It is not money that they can spend anyhow. The money, they are holding it in custody for Ghanaians. So they have to be accountable. And that is one of the things that is not present in their existence. Because they are not accountable. They use our money as if the money belongs to them.
You mean this government?
Yes, the money is not for them. They should understand. See, the moment they understand that we are here because the sovereign people of Ghana put power into our hands. And whatever we are holding is for the sovereign people of this nation. And we need to be accountable to them. One of the ways of being accountable to us is through the Auditor General, is through Parliament. So they need to be accountable and always say that this money we are holding is not for us. And whatever we do, we should do it to the extent that it benefits the Ghanaian. We should be prudent about how we use it. You see, the question of them not being prudent, that is why we are here today in IMF and struggling. And have to go through all these hardships and conditionalities, increases in tariffs and all that. One of the conditionalities is for the PURC.
Well, the defense is that it's because of COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine war.
Let's not go back.
Because the president reiterated that in his last address.
With that address, I don't want us to talk about it.
Reiterated what?
Because I was very, very sad. I thought that the president will come and say, hey, guys, I know things are not good. I know that... the cost of living is high, standard of living has fallen, and people are struggling, and should be a bit empathetic about it, and be nice about it. He just came to give a justice. What is come on? If you say come on, then it means that, oh, forget it, giddy gone. Forget about Ghanaians. That is what it means. No. If you say, you see, that is what, because you see, I thought that you will come into our homes and show empathy. Not to come and justify why we are in hardship. Do you get me? We don't want a justification. At this point, we don't need a justification why we are in hardship. We need somebody to soothe us. Tell us something good. Tell us, okay, the 600 million that has come, we are going to do A, B, C, D with this, and we are going to do this, that will improve the lives of Ghanaians. This COVID-19, Ukraine, whatever, I think that those excuses are mute. It is past. We should forget about it. Going forward, this money that are 3 billion over time, what are we going? That is what the last time I said. There should be an accountable timetable. You get me? For us to know what the money is being used for. And if you have people like Dumelevo around, certainly they will help us and make sure that government does the right thing.
Now, Aisha, what precedent then has been set by this? Going by, even though we don't have the full rule, and based on the reports by key court reporters and also published in the media, that has been set by the Nanado-led government regarding how Domelevo as an Auditor General was treated or mistreated.
Roland, good morning to your cherished viewers and good morning to every member of the NDC. You see, there is this human rights activist who said something, and I quote, he said, without strong watchdog institutions, impunity becomes the very foundation upon which corruption are built. And if impunity is not demolished, all efforts to bring an end to corruption will be in vain. Roland, we have a president who is supposed to be the custodian of our constitution. Is that not it?
True.
And clearly, our constitution has made provisions to give the president the mandate to ensure that corruption is eradicated. In Article 1, in Chapter 6 of the Constitution, the directive principle of state policy, is when you go to Article 35, Clause 8, it says that the state shall take steps to eradicate corrupt practices and abuse of power. But what do we see, Roland? The president, in whose hands the Constitution lies, and is to ensure that the citizenry comply, is the very person abusing power and encouraging corrupt practices. Roland, whatever Domelevo went through was well orchestrated. Whatever he went through was well orchestrated. You remember in the heat of the Kroll Associates investigation, the $1 million.
Which also involved Yusuf Mahfoud, the senior minister.
Exactly. It was during that investigation and the hint that Domelevo was going to investigate the COVID expenditure. It was within that same period, because Domelevo had hinted that he was going to investigate the COVID expenditure. And what did we see? In January, there was a hint of investigating COVID expenditure. In March, Domelevo was ousted with all kind of cunning and flimsy, excuses. This president has made it his duty, to interfere in state institutions that are supposed to be independent. You see, the Constitution has stated clearly in Article 187 that the Auditor General, in the performance of his function under the Constitution of any law, shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority other than those specifically provided for by the Constitution. And who are those the Constitution has specifically provided that they put the Auditor General in check? It's Parliament. But we have a president who has made it his mandate, as part of his mandate, to control independent institutions. You realize how the president ousted Charlotte Osei immediately?
Well, the line of
power.
Investigations that were started were because of breaches of procurement regulations.
But today, the outcome of Charlotte Osei's removal has shown clearly the motive behind why she was removed. Today, we have the president appointing MPP apparatchiks into the EC. So it is clear that the plan was well orchestrated to get the woman out, to interfere in the independence of the EC and independence of all other bodies that are supposed to be independent, so that he can have control over them. It is clear. With what we are seeing, we are justified to say that the plans were well orchestrated, because if it's about procurement breaches, what haven't we witnessed under this Akufo-Addo's government? Roland, what haven't we witnessed? Even the PPA boss, we saw what he was engaged in. What did the president do? So it's not about procurement breaches. It's about the fact that this president wanted to interfere in every independent body so that he can have full control.
Regarding Charlotte Osei, that was just a ruse or an excuse, because subsequently we've seen
Absolutely.
other public officials who
engaged
directly
in worse things. Okay. And they've gotten away with it. In fact, the president is the very person who comes and vindicates all those who get indicted in corruption issues. And it's rather unfortunate, Roland, Domelevo, like my big sister here said, stated before he was ousted that he was living in a very hostile environment. The environment was so toxic that he wakes up in the morning from his bed to work and he panics because he doesn't even know what was at stake for him. He wasn't too sure what was going to happen to him. The environment was too hostile. It was so toxic. He wasn't given that conducive environment to operate. He wasn't given the conducive environment to operate. And you see, this issue of the president interfering in the responsibilities of independent bodies is what has brought us where we are. Any wonder today we have one of our ambulances.
What has that got to do with the Auditor General
It has got everything. It has got everything to do with corruption. What was Domelevo doing? Was he not exposing corruption? Was he not going to audit our expenditure? Any wonder we have our ambulances in Dubai being sold like Elewele? Because the president has enabled his people to engage in corrupt practices. Now the thing looks like this very Akufo-Addo who came to tell us that he was going to protect the public purse. He was never going to engage in corrupt practices. Now sleeps, eats, drinks, and baths corruption. He sleeps, eats, drinks, and baths corruption. In fact, corruption is now like a perfume on him.
On who?
On Akufo-Addo. The fragrance of corruption. It's all over him.
Please refer for me.
And look, I'm telling you, if this picture of Akufo-Addo's governance, I won't even call it a governance because it is not a governance. Akufo-Addo is actually ruling us. If this picture of what we are witnessing today were to be shown prior to the 2016 elections, I'm not sure Akufo-Addo himself would have voted for himself. If what we are witnessing today,
what 2016? Because Akufo-Addo was not in power in 20. You mean 2020 elections?
That was not, prior to the 2016 elections that Ghanaians had to vote for him. If pictures or video of what is currently happening under his watch was shown to him, I'm not sure he would have even voted for himself.
Okay, point made.
The corruption under this administration stinks so badly, and the Supreme Court's judgment has exposed him. It has exposed him.
All right. Now let's get directly to the inset of the man himself at the center of all this. He says that he's not peeved, but this is just a vindication. But he has more in this inset.
The highest office of the land, the office of the president, should rather be seen as enforcing or complying with the laws of the land instead of being at the forefront of violating or breaching these laws. So that is what disturbs me. But I am happy to say that never again do I think it will happen. Since the Supreme Court has decided on it, I am sure it will be upheld by this government and subsequent government. So no Auditor General may face or suffer what I suffered. That is my happiness. From my point of view, it is an abuse of executive power, especially when it is expressly stated what must be done. Look, if you remember, the office of the president, even in responding to my position, stated that they were depending upon, Section 30 of the Labor Act, which says every laborer or worker should take leave. But they didn't see Section 27, which said they should give the laborer or the worker at least 30 days notice prior to the commencement of the leave. Because the office of the president knew that if they had given me 30 days, I would have gone to court to enchant them. So they wanted to do everything possible that I could not have done anything to stop their illegal action. But better late than never. Many people are worried that it is justice delayed and justice denied. I said, well, I think nobody knows that better than the Supreme Court judges. And to me, the timing was also a bit okay for me.
And Lorato, directly, the president is fingered in and in this judgment, per his actions, the actions of his assigns towards an Auditor General, irrespective of who Domelevo is, which ideally, if this had gone through, sets also a very bad precedent. How is that rhyming or syncing with what the president thinks in the corridors of the Jubilee House?
Roland, if you go on that tangent, then we do a great disservice to this nation.
Which tangent?
We've chosen democracy as the way to go. You get it. There's a ruling by the Supreme Court, the apex court of this country. I'm pretty amazed at the way my sisters are going.
How are they going?
You get it. If you come and sit down here and you say there were all means and they just wanted him out because he was exposing government and all that, does that mean that in 2009, when Mr. Auditor was asked to proceed on leave, was that why the NDC did that under the late Professor Mills? You get it? The moral audacity of our compatriots sometimes is so overwhelming.
So it was equalization.
When you decide that, let's focus. What did I say when you asked me? A ruling has come. It's a victory for democracy. What has been done was not a novelty. It's been done. We've had people, and even in the Auditor General himself, the Supreme Court says that's not the right way to go. It becomes a precedent. Nobody goes on that tangent. Because tomorrow, if another president, another person wants to do that, everybody has reference to it. But look, when did the NDC come into power? They came to power in 2009. Who was one of the first people to let go? But listen to this. This is a story on June 17, 2019. It's on dailyguidenetwork.com. Auditor General acknowledges government support. And this is a direct quote from the story. And if you indulge me.
What does the story say?
He says himself here.
Who, Daniel Domelevo?
Yes. I must say the executive has played its part. I hope you are aware when
Which date was that?
17th, 17 June 2019. And this is a quote from him. You can check the story. I'll send it to you. I must say the executive has played its part. I hope you are aware when there was a change in government. The first announcement we heard was a ban on procurement of vehicles. But this was the time government gave us the permission to buy 34 vehicles to support the audit service. We had never bought 10 vehicles in the history of the audit service before. But the permission was granted up till today. Some people are struggling to get clearance to recruit staff. And obviously elated Dumelevo told his audience at the British Council Hall in Accra.
So what's the
This
point
is
of
the
this?
same government that you said that was not
Please.
supporting the man, was putting him in a toxic environment and all that.
How do you,
You see,
how
when
do you
we
rationalize,
listen,
how do you
when
rationalize
he was
this
asked to
with the
post-
actions
when he was
that were
Roland,
undertaken by the
please,
president?
Can you let me flow?
And then also that was
Roland,
also enumerated in the
Roland,
Supreme Court.
Roland, if you're going to have a conversation, you have to let me flow.
You are flowing.
I
Please go ahead.
sat here when everybody was talking. Not once did
Oh,
you
there was. I
interject.
did some
Interjected
interactions.
me.
Not
Several
once did you
times.
interject.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Please let me
Go ahead. Go
ahead. I've read his own words. This was a
And I'm asking, how
government
do you
that
rationalize
supported
that with the actions that were
You
taken?
get it. With the actions
Changing
that were
of his
taken.
laws,
Listen,
making him proceed on leave,
did you
for which
see
the
the
Supreme Court...
Did you see the president that changing his locks? Look, Roland, people get exhausted. If we all want to talk about the environments we work in this country, I don't think we'll leave this studio.
Tell me.
Even as you sit here, are you totally happy with the work environment you find yourself in? You get up and come to work every morning to do what you're supposed to do. But let's also have at the back of our mind that once you are appointed into a public service institution to do something, your laws, your mandate also borders on other people's mandates. When the directive came for him to proceed on leave, what was the first thing he said? That his audits are embarrassing the government. How can you even say that?
But is that not true?
How can you even say your audit
of the government
out of
and its
all the
assets?
things? And today, as we sit here, all the things my sisters have said, can they
to the
come
point that
out?
they go to court.
Can they come out? Can they come out? With what? That was why I said, you see, it will help all of us. It will help all of us if we wait. Great ruling. What was done wasn't supposed to be done. It's been done over the years. It's not right. Let's put a stop to it. But it will also help all of us if we wait for the judgment to come out. You see, this is how we deal with issues in this country. We hush them. We never get a long-lasting solution to it. Then it keeps happening.
This is an issue that
You
all
get
of
it?
us
This is an issue
had
that
public spectacle of.
this is an issue we all had public spectacle of, right? But was he the first to be asked to proceed on leave?
Is it right?
One of the things that even over the years,
Is it right?
the things, come again, it's not right, and the Supreme Court has said that.
And the
so what do we do?
president was-
But do we have to
was
sit
sponsoring
down
this.
here? Do we have to sit down here and make it seem as? I mean, that's what I say. When we come to sit here and we have to talk about governance issues and see how we will better the country, let's be measured in the country. If we want to go back to what the NDC did when they were in power, what they did to people when they were in power. I know directors, chief directors, other people who had were asked to proceed on leave because someone or the other didn't like them. A ruling has happened. What do? We move forward and make sure that some of these things don't happen. But don't also make it seem as there were people who had Auditor General before. He himself has admitted to the support that the government gave him whilst he was in power, right, whilst he was in office. You get it? There was a serious backlog of audit reports. Today, how many do we have? We only have a backlog of 2 years, which can be better. We are all trying to build a nation. So if we come here and we think that everything should be about propaganda, jumping from ambulance to what, when we are talking about the other services.
You mean the ambulance videos and things? It was brought out by the public?
Through reforms and all that. Initially, we used to have just what? The Auditor General's office. Now we have internal audit agency. It's through reforms and some of these things that we build our institutions and make our government better. So if you want to see as if now that the ruling has been given that we need to move forward, we want to go back. Come on. Everybody has issues that they can go back to.
As we discuss these, we are taking the country back.
But what are we doing?
Oh, well,
what are we doing?
The president is
there's a conversation
actions
about precedents. The action the president took. The letter have you seen I can show you the letter that was sent to Mr. Duajiman. Mr. Duajiman, probably you can read it out yourself so that it doesn't seem. This was the letter that was written to Mr. Duajiman in 2009. You can read it. But
so in
there's no point in going back to all those
9th
things.
April 2009. And this is in the Akamil's administration. Actually, the third month as he took office, if not the fourth month. Accumulated leave, Mr. Edward Duajiman, and we all know at the time he was the Auditor General, all right? So we have, the record shows that you have accumulated leave, approximately 264 days. And I am directed by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, John Evans Atta Mills, to request that you take said leave with effect from Wednesday, April 15, 2009, and signed by J.K. Bebako Mensah, Secretary to the President. So upon this letter, the President also decided to act same, equalization.
No, it's not a matter of equalization. What I'm
Then what
saying
is
is, when I said that, if going back and dragging out all kinds of issues, what is the way forward? The Supreme Court says this action that was taken is not right. It's been done before, it's been done again, it is not right. What do? We move forward. But if you go and make it seem as if you are sacrosanct, we can go back and pull out even toilets that NDC people took over when they came to power.
True. I was witness to some of
you
them.
You get it. So don't let us reduce ourselves.
And same thing happened also.
And it has to be continuous improvement. A ruling has been given. Hopefully the judgment comes out at the time that the justices have indicated. Let's build on the lessons we learn. Don't make it seem as if you are sacrosanct, you haven't done anything and all that. It was wrong when they did it. It is wrong. It's unconstitutional. Let's move forward and build a better nation, if there's only one Ghana, but to come and sit out there and make it seem as if this is a novelty, there have been a lot of things that we've gotten people taken into detention and other things with just a statement of power from above and all that. You get it? We've seen a lot of things in this country. Even for those of us, I always say, let's start from 1992. You get it? So we've had a lot of things. You get it? Nanaya, I can only talk about what I can relate to. 1992.
But I think that, to be fair to Haja, what the info she's saying is that we can go back, we shouldn't do that.
That is okay with you, but I will start in 1992 when constitutional rule. Yes, when constitutional.
Please allow her to flow.
You don't expect me to go and say, look,
but
history, no matter how you put it, history, no matter how you get it. The more reason why when issues happen, we need to deal with it and deal with it.
That's why I'm asking that. So the actions of the president was premised.
When did the NDC
was premised on the 2009 letter.
When did the NDC come to order, to power?
I'm asking you, is the action of the president then and his assigns towards Domelevo as an Auditor General were premised on the actions that were perpetrated on the former Auditor General,
when was Mr. Domelevo appointed? 2016. Right.
December.
Yes, December 2016. Right. That was in a previous administration. When was he asked to proceed on leave?
You tell me. You're in government.
No, I'm asking you. You're a journalist. When was he supposed to? But when was Mr. Duajiman asked to proceed on leave? 2009. You read out the dates. You get it. So
I'm saying that was that equalization?
What is equalization about this?
Okay. Because you are citing it.
What is equalization about this? There's no form of equalization. Things happen.
Okay.